Today we will be discussing the chapter Business Activity. In this chapter, we will be covering the concept of needs and wants, the basic economic problem of scarcity, the four factors of production, opportunity cost, that is the next best alternate for gone, specialization, the purpose of business activity, and the concept of added value. So let's begin with the concept of needs and wants. A need is a good or service which is essential for living, such as basic food, shelter, and clothing. So, basic food would not include pizza or foods which are very tasty or something like that. But basic food would include foods such as lentils, wheat, etc. because we need food for our basic survival. Similarly, for shelter, we are not talking about a luxurious mansion here, we are talking about a place to live. And similarly, for clothing, it's not supposed to be branded clothing, it's supposed to be anything that we can wear. So, need is a good or service which is essential or required for living. On the other hand, a want is a good or service which people would like to have but which is not essential for living. We would all like to have pizza or tasty food which will be expensive. So, that is not a need, that is a want. And similarly, if there is an expensive house or branded clothes or an iPhone or similar things, these are all wants. So the problem is that human wants are unlimited, which takes us to our next concept, which is the basic economic problem. So the basic economic problem is of scarcity. Scarcity means that there are unlimited wants but limited resources to fulfill the wants of the population. There are four factors of production that we are able to bring together to produce other goods and services, and these include land, labor, capital, and enterprise. And the problem is that these are limited in supply. The basic economic problem of scarcity is that there are unlimited wants but limited resources to fulfill those wants. The four factors of production are land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Now let's go into the details of all these. Land is the natural resources provided by the nature, so physical land itself also, like the fields, but also other natural resources, minerals, oil, coal, gas, etc. etc. And labor is the physical and mental effort of the people who work. So this is not just field work. This also includes mental work in the office. So anyone who is working either physically or mentally is a labor. Then the third factor of production is capital. It is the finance, equipment, machinery required to run a business or to manufacture goods and services. And the fourth one is enterprise or entrepreneur, who is the person who brings together all the other factors of production in order for the production process to happen. Now let's discuss the concept of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the next best alternate forgone by choosing another item. So if we have two choices and we let go of one thing to choose the another, so the one that we leave becomes the opportunity cost. Why is there the concept of opportunity cost? It is there because we cannot have everything, as the resources are limited in supply. So we as individuals, as firms, or as government will always have to make a decision. We cannot buy everything. So, for an individual, the decision could be either to go for a holiday in a foreign country or to buy a new car, because we have limited finances, limited money. So, let's suppose the individual chooses to buy the holiday and go on a foreign trip. So he will not be able to keep the money or save the money to buy the car. So the car becomes the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the thing that we let go of. Similarly, for a business, if there are two machinery options, the business could either buy machine A or machine B. And let's suppose the business buys machine A, then machine B becomes the opportunity cost. And the government can also choose between building a new road, a new school, or public welfare, or anything similar. So let's suppose the government chose to build the road, so the school becomes the opportunity cost. In an ideal world, there would be no opportunity cost. We can go on a holiday and also buy a car, but it is not possible because limited resources and unlimited wants. Most people will have to give up something to choose another. So now let's discuss the concept of specialization and division of labor. Specialization occurs when people and businesses concentrate on what they are best at. So, an example of a specialization would be a teacher would only focus on one subject or few subjects in which he or her is very good at. Why? Because if a teacher tries to teach all the subjects, will he be able to do it as effectively? Most probably not. Because if we do one task over and over, we become very good at that task. So, specialization is very beneficial for individuals and the organization as a whole. If the organization sets up its production process in such a way that each worker performs one of these tasks, then it is a form of specialization. So, there are many advantages of division of labor for an organization and some disadvantages also. The advantages include workers are trained in one task only, so it increases their efficiency. And higher efficiency will lead to higher productivity, higher earnings, higher profits, and whatnot. Secondly, less time is wasted moving from one workbench to another. So, if one worker, for example, just does one task and he is there, let's suppose a carpenter splits up the production process in such a way that one worker is only polishing the tables. So if one worker keeps on polishing the tables again and again, he will not have to move from one place to another, no time will be wasted, and he will be expert at that task. The third advantage is that it is quicker and cheaper to train workers in fewer skills. So if we have to train a worker in only one skill, it is easier to do as compared to teaching them everything. So that saves time and money for the organization as well. The disadvantages are that worker can become bored doing one job. So if a worker is told to do one job all the day for years, he or she can become bored and they will need some variety in their life. So that can alienate the workers and their efficiency might fall. The second disadvantage is that if one worker is absent and no one else can do the job, then the whole production process might stop. So if, let's suppose, in a school, there is one teacher who is able to teach one subject and there is no one to substitute for him. And if that teacher is absent that day, what will happen? All the units of the teacher, the time of the students will be wasted. So now let's discuss the purpose of business activity. Why do businesses exist and why are they operating? Businesses combine the four factors of production to make goods and services which satisfy people's needs and wants. So they are making goods and services so people can benefit and their needs and wants are being fulfilled. Businesses are creating jobs. They are employing people as labor to work for them and produce goods and services. These people earn money and they are able to use this money to buy goods and services from other businesses or from the same business. In return for doing all this, the business can make a profit, which is the main goal or aim of all private businesses, except a few. And the business could also provide service to the community, which could be the aim of many government businesses or NGOs. So now let's discuss the concept of added value. Businesses add value to the goods and services that they produce. Added value is the difference between the selling price of a product and the cost of bought-in materials. Added value is not profit because added value only deducts the cost of material from the selling price and it does not deduct other expenses. Other expenses could include electricity, wages, or similar expenses. Now let's discuss it with the help of an example. Let's suppose there is a marker that is selling for 250 rupees. So the selling price of that marker is 250 rupees. And the cost of making this marker, let's suppose the plastic used or the ink used amounts to 100. So added value in this case would be 250, that is the selling price, minus the cost of material, which is 100. So added value would be 150. Now, is this profit? No, because in order to produce this marker, there would have been a factory setup. there would have been electricity cost, wages, and other expenses. So, all those expenses are yet to be deducted, and after deducting all those expenses, then only we can arrive at the profit figure. So, added value is the selling price minus cost of bought in materials, that is only the material cost. So, profit is different. Profit is selling price minus cost of bought in materials and all other expenses. Now, let's discuss this with the help of another example. If there is a house and the selling price is $50,000 and the cost of bought in materials such as cement and bricks is $20,000, then 30,000 is the added value. Why? Because selling price, that is 50,000 minus 20,000, which is the cost of bought in materials, is equal to 30,000. But this 30,000 is not profit because other expenses such as electricity, wages, and similar expenses will still have to be deducted before we arrive at the profit figure. Now let's discuss the last thing of this chapter, that is how to increase added value. Added value is the difference between selling price and the cost of bought in materials. So naturally there are only two ways to increase the added value. The first is to increase the selling price. But this is not so easy to do because when we increase the selling price, the demand can fall. In order to counter this, we need to create a high quality brand image in the minds of the consumers. This could be done with the help of advertising. And the second way to increase added value is to reduce cost of bought in materials. But reducing cost of bought in materials by buying cheaper, lower quality material could affect the brand image and damage our overall sales, and it could really affect us in the long run. So we need to look for alternate suppliers with maintaining the quality. And this is all that is there in this chapter.